and welcome back to our very special year in review episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, which is kind of funny because the show only started in September, but we're doing an annual review anyway because we all existed for the whole year and we all experienced marketing related things. So we are going to spend our time together today talking about what we saw that worked in 2023, what we saw that didn't work in 2023, and some things that can help us all do more things that work in 2024. So specifically, as you might see, we have an extra bonus guest. I don't know who's the bonus, but there's more people here today. So there's more brains for answering your questions or testing out your perspectives. So if you're joining us live, one, let us know that you're here. And two, if you have questions or there's something you experienced this year or something you recently learned about, I'm sure AI and ChatGPT will come up at some point. But please share that in the comments because if there's anything that's coming up for you, we would love to include that in part of today's conversation. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tracy Borison, the host of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show and creator of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show because I've seen a lot of crazy, stupid marketing things, and I would like for people to know what are the crazy, stupid things and what are the good, fundamental things that make sense. And here we get to differentiate those and find the things that make sense for you, that are sustainable, that will allow your company to grow, and also that feel easy for you. So that's me, and that's why the show exists. And look at this amazing group of peeps we have today. If you saw my post about this, I didn't do the exact counting, but we have more than 100 years of marketing experience on this show. So no marketing question is too tough.
And Peter, you're 50?
Not quite.
We won't talk about where those years fall. You can make those assumptions for yourself. The point is, we have a lot of people here who have a lot of experience doing marketing things and not the same kind of marketing things. So please share your questions, comments, insights, perspectives, queries. I don't know. I could come up with a lot of words for that, but this is what marketers do, right? Different words for different things. Please share them in the comments. We would love to hear your voice as part of this conversation. Before we kick off, let's learn a little bit about who we have on the panel today. So we're just going to go around the room with some brief intros, friends. Brief, because we all know lots of you have lots of marketing experience. So let's keep it brief so we can talk about the good stuff. Let's start with Ben.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Baker. My company's Your Brand Marketing. I've been in communications for, 27 years now. Started off in direct mail. Spend most of my time on internal communications, storytelling, and change management. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Paul.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Paul Howery with Heart-Based Leading, and I am a dork about the way our minds function in story to create belonging. And what I love about the concept of marketing, going all the way back to my days where I created websites that matched human behavior, it's all about the story and how the mind connects in the story, and that the person or the product becomes theirs through that invitation in marketing.
Awesome. So excited. I saw Ben going like this, and I remember Ben was on our storytelling episode. So awesome. Peter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter T. Britton, and I am a resultant. I spent 10 years as a radio and television news reporter, followed by coming up on 40 years as a direct response copywriter. So, Paul, I am the ultimate storyteller.
And he's also our local curmudgeon.
I am the resident curmudgeon, yes.
So thank you. And we value that about you, Peter. Lynn.
Hello, I'm Lynn Rivest, and I've been in what we used to call digital marketing, which is kind of bullshit because marketing is marketing, for over 20 years. And I come at it from positioning as the kind of place to start everything. It's the most strategic, in my mind, the most strategic place to start. And strategy is all about making choices, which I feel there's a disease of being choosy nowadays. So that'd be something I would want to talk about today. But yeah, that's it for me.
Oh, disease of choosiness. This sounds like that's going to be good. Awesome. And last but not least, Dave.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Holland. I come from the tourism industry, the restaurant marketing industry, and I am a markerations person. I put operations and marketing together and make it work. I'm just excited to talk to you guys about marketing.
Awesome. Okay, and one thing, because we have a few peeps on here that have holiday sweaters. So I just want to take a brief moment for anyone who's wearing a holiday sweater to stand up and show everyone their holiday sweater. Or tilt your camera down. Also good. Just
Beautiful.
because, why not? Also, I will take a screenshot of that later and it will go in my Christmas Eve post because sweaters. So if you don't agree to that, let me know. I'll crop myself up.
One of these days, I'm going to find a happy Hanukkah sweater. I'm going to find a happy, ugly Hanukkah sweater somewhere.
Talk to my friend Dan Roth. I'm pretty sure he has one.
There we go.
All right. Well, since Lynn brought it up in her intro, I want to talk. Let's start at this place with the disease of choosiness. Lynn, do you want to elaborate on that? And is this good? Is this bad? Was it a win for 2023 or what's up?
A disease is rarely a good thing. I feel that with the, content, that's a whole other thing. But with all the content that we've got going on, and all the clients I've been working with, the biggest issue, struggle, hurdle, and even with big brands, it's the same thing, is to make these choices, like choose specifically who the heck you serve and how you're going to do it. It's still one of the biggest hurdles that I have in working with clients. And it really comes down to, and it's strategy. Like I say, positioning strategy. I need to dress this up better, but strategy ultimately is that you've made very specific choices and you stick to them. And I just still don't see that happening. And I feel that with just the generic goo of all the content, that it's even harder for people because they think, well, I have to do it all, or I have to try all these things. So that's kind of what I meant. And I'd be happy to hear what anybody else thinks about that.
I love that.
Actually, and I would love to hear, because Paul, in your intro, you were talking about like the belonging and the we story. And I know when we did our episode about belonging, we were talking about a choice and how like belonging is actually a choice that people make to be together. But if we don't make a choice in terms of who we're targeting or our channels or our message or what have you, like, I feel like that severely disables our ability for that additional choice to happen down the line.
Oh, that's the key thing. Often we forget to choose ourselves because we can't belong unless we choose ourselves also. But when I think of marketing and targeting, if you haven't chosen somebody else, how can you expect them to choose you in return? I mean, that's that whole shotgun approach that goes out. I belong to everybody. Well, then you belong to nobody. And I'd throw that into the same aspect of you choose who you are willing and wanting to work with and what you want to share with them, because maybe it'll change their life and give them an actual strategic edge. And to share that, because that's the leverage point. But to make it so scattershot, and then maybe it'll stick, and maybe I'll make some money and whatever else. No, nobody's going to go, oh yeah, I want that Tracy because she's mine. I can tell, and I'm hers. And the moment somebody feels that, it's not when they think that, it's when they feel that they make the choice. And it's hard to feel it if you're not chosen.
It's true. And I think that's interesting, even from the perspective of like choosing a thing.
Lynn,
how are we choosing ourselves?
Lynn, I have a question for you about the disease. Is the germ of the disease analytics? Are we as marketers so overswarmed by analytics and numbers and graphs and right-handed people in Duluth on Tuesday afternoons at 2:00 are primary targets for left-handed screwdrivers when sold in this particular medium? That
when it's raining. Don't forget when it's raining.
The analytics. I mean, I used to play golf. Don't play it as much as I used to, but we always used to refer to it in golf as analysis paralysis. We have so much data in a golf swing that we just can't swing the club, and we give up the game because it's no fun anymore. And is that the germ of the disease?
Yeah, the germ of the disease is abundance in all its forms. So it's data, it's all kinds of other types of information, it's everything that's coming at us all the time. It actually, the world is your oyster kind of thing that they've shown. The more you have, the more you have at your disposal, the more you're able to, the harder it is for you to commit to making a choice, because it always seems like there's something better around the corner. And with the analytics, they seem kind of even more meaningful. It's like, oh, all these things you just said, golfing in the rain, left-handed, whatever. It's like, oh, that's super specific. Let's lom onto that. But the thing is it's meaningless when it's not tied to any, as you know, data has no meaning until you figure out what that is. But yeah, it does come down to excess, to too much. And which is crazy. It's like, that's why it's a disease. It's like things are growing too fast for us to be able to put the stop on it and say, it's okay to commit to something. And we crave it so much. Oh, I crave it.
Paul, one of the things I noticed more so in the last year than the year before, but more that year than the year before that, is that I'll put this gently. Too many marketers are absolutely in love with themselves and their product. My product is the greatest product because I love it, and therefore everybody else should love it. And if I just show it to you, you're going to fall in love with it. And the idea of telling the story of why it's lovable and separating yourself from your product is the only way you can get to that story.
But here's one thing. It says your brand should repel far more people than it attracts. So should your story. I mean, we can service 1% of the world population, a portion of 1% of the 1% of the population. I mean, think about the vast majority of the people on this earth are not our clients and never will be. They never will be. And just because they potentially might have $3 in their pocket, and if they come in out of the rain on a Tuesday afternoon when the sun is going to beam at 4:00, maybe they might purchase one thing at one time and never see them again. But we focus on those people, and that's the data. The data is we can make this for everybody if we cook the books the right way. Well, you can't. You need to focus on who are the people that actually have the problem that we actually can solve. Do these people have a need for this? And do they have the money to buy it? I mean, that's the one thing that most marketers forget to look at. Do the people that you're actually going after actually have the money in their pocket that they're willing to trade for whatever goods or service you're offering? And a lot of the times is, no, they don't. They need it. They absolutely need what you have to sell, but that's going to be $50,000. I haven't got 50 grand.
Well, that's not your target then. That's not your market.
Exactly.
That's what I like about analysis, and what I like about data is that I can save a heck of a lot of money on my company, and I can help out the company save a lot of money by targeting. But it depends on your purpose, right? If you're just doing reach awareness or something like that, you can keep your costs down by focusing on a very broad market, or you can be very strategic. But data is too much data. I guess if you're trying to be very specific, you can waste a lot of your time, or you can kind of strategically decide what market is willing to spend that $50,000 for your product.
But yeah, and I think it's also like there's good data, useful data, bad data, not useful data. There are people out there who are providing services that can be helpful. There's people out there providing services that can't be helpful. Yeah. And that's why I like what you said, Lynn, is the abundance of information, which again is one of the reasons why this show exists, because there are all of these people out there being like, we can do this and we can do this, and this is what you want, and you want 3,000 views on every one of your posts, and you want this and you want that. And because we don't actually know ourselves what we want and what we need, we become influenced by all of these external forces, and then we don't know how to choose. And the thing I always find interesting that I'd love to hear everybody's opinion on is that, like, there isn't actually one right choice for all people. There's the right choice for you. So how do you prioritize listening to yourself? Or as Paul put it earlier, belonging with yourself first. So you can look at, this is one of the things I feel like I have built a skill in, is that somebody from LinkedIn can be like, I have this service and it's going to do this and this and this and this and this for you. Even if that is so, which probably it's not, I don't want that, because I have my way and my way works for me, and you might not get my way, and that's fine. And your service might work and it might work for other people. It's just not my thing. And so away you go. But I don't think that a lot of people, and I don't think a lot of marketers from like a working inside middle management in a marketing organization, that people have that self-confidence, do we want to say like, that's not for me?
Well, think about what everybody keeps saying. You know, do this, your data analytics. Now, even less, we'll take even AI into it to ferret things down. Yet, anytime we have data proposed to this, hey, do you want this or that? You're giving somebody a choice. Because that's not part of a story, it's part of a cost analysis, and that ends up right in the front of the brain. That's your prefrontal, that's the space. And guess where you don't make decisions? That part of your brain. That part of the brain is always evaluating, and it's always doing a read, history, present, future, and everything else. But it's not making decisions. The decisions come into that emotional space. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because there's wonderful research on this now. Not that we're trying to add more data to the discussion, but the data is from a time frame, and it's in the past. And unless you can put that in somebody's story in the present and for the future, or to tell a story, mm-hmm. it's stuff that actually represents the backwards look as opposed to the forwards look. And so forward look. So I think that using the data is good, and having it to form a story, real story, but make the story about them, so that we're not trying, as Peter pointed out, talking about our great product that we're so awesome about that nobody really cares about, because really what they care about is they just want to get their shit done in their own company and be a good group of people to do this stuff, regardless of where they go up or down and fail or succeed. That's the space.
I get a lot of young copywriters who will come to me and talk about, what's the secret? You've been doing this since Moses was coming down with tablets. So what's the secret that he had? And I said, it's really actually the first thing you have to learn is to operate in the universe, but spell universe Y-O-U, universe. And it's never about me. It's always about you. And I might be the greatest person in the world, but I want you to understand that you're also the greatest person in the world, simply because you're dealing with the greatest person in the world, and that's me.
Well, you want, as a person being sold, as the person being marketed to, you want to feel that the person who's trying to have a conversation with you gets you as an individual. Mm-hmm. They understand what your needs, wants, fears, aspirations, and desires are. If I believe that the person has actually taken the time and the energy to look through my website, to look through my social media, to figure out a little bit about me, of who I am and what I do, and then come to me with a solution that says, look, Ben, I've been looking at your social media posts over the last 3 months. I've been looking at the things that you offer. Here's something that you may want to think about, because I think that it's going to be able to help you with the type of clients that you deal with, which, if I'm right, are B2B, mid to large size corporations, correct? Great. All of a sudden you have my ear. If you come to me looking to sell me a 9-slice toaster and just keep telling me about features and benefits and how wonderful it is and how much I need it, I'm slamming down the phone. I don't care. I may need that 9-slice toaster, but the way you're approaching it, it's all about you, and it's about you trying to sell me something and putting money in your pocket instead of you trying to solve my problem.
See,
and that's where we need to be as marketers.
And Ben, I wouldn't have even called you if you hadn't clicked on a button that said you want to talk to me.
See,
Like
and this is
my advertising or my message is I'm not going to cold call you. I'm going to get the message out there till you reach out to me. And then you're in my field now. Now you're in mine.
And it all depends on how you market. It all depends on
I live in
who your clients are.
I live in downtown Vancouver. I have within a 10-minute walk of here, probably 25 places where I can go and get a sandwich for lunch.
Easily.
Almost always go to the same place for a very simple reason. Their sandwiches aren't that much better. Their prices aren't that much cheaper. The service isn't any much more terrific. But every time I walk in the door, the owner says, "Hi, Peter, how you doing?" His wife works there, Mimi. Mimi says, "Hi, Peter, how you doing?" Because as humans, we like to do business with people that we like. We like to do business with our friends. I would rather go on an adventure with a friend to the far ends of the earth than walk across the street for some stranger who makes me afraid to walk across the street. And too many marketers think, "Hey, I'm wonderful and you're going to love me." And it's no. What you have to do is say, "Look, let's develop a friendly relationship. And then I'm going to help you solve a challenge that you face." That's what I'm here for. I don't sell products. I don't sell services. I sell solutions. And what we have to do is find out two things: the number one problem that you're facing and the number one problem that you don't even realize that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that back of the head problem. And if I can solve both of those, we can be friends and we'll do business.
But I also think, I think about this quite often, because what is the relationship needed to even allow that problem to be revealed? Because in your scenario, Ben, I have lots of people who send me email messages or in-mail messages, and they're like, "I've looked at your profile and this is totally a problem that you must be." And you're like, assumption, wrong, right? I'm not even going to read what else you wrote here. Also, probably because it's copy and pasted. But I don't have a relationship with you to believe that you see a problem I might have. Now, whereas if any of you folk were like, "Hey, Tracy, I learned this new thing and I know you, so this might be something you would be interested in exploring because blah, blah." Then I'd be like, "Oh, okay. I might consider that because I know you and I know you know me. And I also know you care enough about me doing things my way that I would take that into consideration." But one of the things that comes up for me, and I think creates a lot of confusion in the marketing industry, are the differences between a B2B sell, a B2C sell, consumer goods versus selling professional services. Because something I always tell people is that okay, sure, if you're selling lip gloss, then maybe you don't need to have a really deep connection with the person. But if you're selling $50,000 consulting packages or hundreds of thousands of dollars of consulting package, or you are, even I always think I buy Mercedes, but I buy Mercedes from a specific guy at Mercedes because I know that guy. He's always done a good job for me. He stands up for me with the service department, and he's a sales rep and he doesn't have to do that. Right. And that's my guy. And depending on your business, your brand experience, what you're selling, who you're selling it to, there's a variety of different marketing tactics that might work really well in one scenario, but absolutely don't work whatsoever in another scenario.
Right. But don't start with the tactics. So I'm going to come back to strategy every time.
Yeah.
I would say that more than B2B, B2C, any of those distinctions, you've got to look at value no matter what. Know who the buyer is in any instance. So with B2C, you're it's you on the other end who needs the lipstick or whatever it is. With B2B, you need to know who's buying. Are you in the room with the decision maker? All of those things, but it's still a person. And you've heard that argument before. So size matters, right? So the bigger the company you're selling into, there are different things you're going to do. But ultimately, it's this idea of value, again, making the strategic choices of what do these people value most. So that buyer in the B2B, in the large corporation, what is it that they're looking to do? Are they under-resourced? Will they value the kind of relief that this solution can give them more than anything else? And then it's the same with the kind of diaper you buy. Is it that you want to not, be an environmental problem, and that's what matters to you? Like, again, we could play this whole game, but I think that B2B and B2C, and somebody was starting B2E, B to entrepreneur, which is apparently a whole other thing. But I'm like, it's all people. And really it comes down to, and I think, we've talked about this in the storytelling and belonging. It's because it's people, and what we value is at the core of that, which is the emotional piece as well.
If you want to have an interesting adventure into your B2B, B2C, D2C, B2E alphabet soup, throw in nonprofit.
Right.
Think of how good nonprofit marketers market to their donors, how they make emotional appeals, how they make connections on a human basis, no matter if it's making water in Africa or fixing a cleft palate. Everything is about the personal connection. And if we spent a little more time studying how nonprofits do such a great job, maybe some of the B2B, B2C, B2D, B2E, B2Fs would do a better job.
But we also need to take a look and say, are we selling a stick of gum, or are we selling a Mercedes? If we're looking at a night at a hotel versus my hotel of choice for my because I travel all over the place for business. Am I going downtown because I want to go out for a nice night at a hotel? Yeah, okay. There's a hotel that's $1,000 and there's a hotel that's $800. They're right next to each other. They're pretty much the same. We're really going out to this restaurant. We're going out to this hockey game. I can save $200, and that way I can buy beer at the hockey game. Okay, fine.
You can buy one beer at the hockey game.
Maybe buy one beer at the Canucks game. But you're sitting there making a decision based on it's not going to kill me if I do this once. If I do this once, it's a one and done thing. If I don't like it, I'm out a few bucks, whatever, big deal. That's the stick of gum, the impulse buy, walking down the aisles at Costco. When you're dealing with something that is going to have some longevity and some life, and something that it's going to solve a problem for you, or be able to give you that status symbol, or it's going to be able to fill a need, you're going to look at it a little bit more critically, and therefore you're going to look at the buying process and the education process far more critically as a buyer. And therefore marketers need to sit there and say, am I selling something that is basically a commodity, or am I selling something where I am actually differentiating myself and trying to build a relationship with this person because I want them to come back and back and back and back and back? People buy Coca-Cola versus Pepsi because they have an emotional attachment to one or the other. They taste the same. Anybody who tells me different, give me a break.
There's no product placement.
Yeah, I know. Peter's a Coke guy. But I'm sitting there going, if it's in the end, it's sugar carbonated water. It's really
diet. It's actually diet, so it's not sugar.
Okay, yours is.
I have one point about that. To the person who's buying the stick of gum,
yes,
maybe to him, that's a real need at this moment. Maybe he's craving that stick of gum.
Or maybe he's on a date.
But will he buy Dentine versus Hubba Bubba versus whatever? Like, if he needs that gum, is he going to be that discerning if they don't have his gum of choice at the supermarket or is he going to go somewhere else if he can't get his stick of gum?
He's going to hunt the gum that he wants. And what we have to remember is consumers don't buy what we want to sell them. They buy what they want.
True.
And everything that we sell, somebody wants. What we have to go back to that idea of targeting is correctly targeting with a proper strategy the people who really want what we have to sell, and not this idea of, hey, I've got a great diamond ring. Everybody wants a diamond ring. Well, no.
Look at women under 30 right now.
I used to refer to it as the ermine violin. Looks beautiful, sounds terrible. But who wouldn't want an ermine violin?
I'm good.
Really?
But you make a great point there, Peter, in that like there might be people who will go shopping for the gum of their choice, right? They might be juicy fruit people, or they might be denting people, or like something I always think is like, I hate cinnamon gum. I don't know why anybody invented that, right? Like gum should be mint. Like, this is my opinion. So like I won't buy gum if all there is cinnamon, right? Even if I wanted gum, I wouldn't. And that's me. That's not everyone.
Yes.
But it's important to know, like, who are your people? Are your people the people who will store shop for gum because they care about the sugar content, or they care about what it does to their teeth, or for whatever reason? But like, or are you people like, we're just going to target the people at the grocery line checkout who are buying this because they haven't thought about it and seems handy? That's still based on, as Lynn said, the value proposition of the item, right? And different people attribute different value to different things. I attribute a high amount of value to Christmas sweaters. Lots of people don't.
All marketers, please remember, everyone on this planet is exactly the same, 100% unique.
Yep. And I wanted to remind everybody too, as we keep chatting, because we could all chat all day. If you have questions about things that you saw in 2023 that worked or didn't work, that you'd like to bring into the conversation today, please pop them in the chat, and I will love to bring them over into the conversation.
I would like to bring up at this point, because you teased it in the opening, and I always think this is a great conversation piece. The one word which almost became the word of the year for the dictionary people, ChatGPT, AI. As a professional writer who loves words, I abhor what's being done with that tool. It's like a professional carpenter watching people hammer with a saw. I mean, it's just. If I may, a quick anecdote. When I was younger, I was watching my mother make a cake one time, and she had this long, dark, beanie-looking thing, and she was scraping it and adding it to the cake mix and stirring it in. I said, "What's that?" She said, "Vanilla bean." And I said, "Vanilla bean? Why don't you use the extract? I mean, it's like $1.99, and you pour it out, and it's easy to measure, and not all that work, and that's a lot more expensive." And she says, "Yes, but the cake tastes better with the real vanilla in it." And content, copy, video, I don't care what you're doing, will always taste better the more human it is, because after all, the consumer is human, not a computer. Discuss.
Well, how many people here are reading more and more posts? I'm just going to use LinkedIn for pick your social media platform of choice, but on LinkedIn, I know people are going into OpenAI. They're putting in the thing. Prompt says, "Write me 200-word posts on communication." Go. And they just cut and copy, and that's Monday post, that's Tuesday post, that's three. They don't even read them. They're not even reading them. They're just cutting, copy, and putting them in there. And all of a sudden, you're looking at these extra long posts that are happening right now, perfectly formatted, and you can tell because they're so banal that they were written by a machine. And all they are is they're an amalgamation of ideas, that may be right and may need to be fact checked. But I just find it more and more difficult to actually read people's posts, because you're sitting there going, "This isn't you. This is some machine pretend, that you're hoping people won't notice that it's a machine."
And I think that's the point, Ben, because I think that's what I experience anyway, is I can tell, one, if I know you, I can tell that that's not you.
Yeah.
Two, if I know you, I can tell you wrote that, right? Like, I'm just going to use Paul as an example because I read all of Paul's posts, and if you don't follow Paul, you should. But like, there's like a distinct way that Paul uses language that you can feel when you're chatting with him, you can see in episodes like this, and it matches the content that he writes. And so you create this consistency. And when I've started to call it internet generic content, because what you've done is you've asked a machine to compile for you all the internet stuff. And so now you've created internet generic content, especially if you haven't even looked at it to see if you agree with what it said. Or if you don't know if you agree or disagree. Bigger foundational problems here. But Ben, one of the things I always think of is like, what's driving this? What drives people to use tools like that? And what I would consider, because there's some cool stuff that ChatGPT can do, but that's
absolutely,
like
I use it.
the minimum viable version of what it can do for people. And so, like, what's the why? Because there's a why behind why people are using it like that.
Everybody's looking for the easy button, and that's my answer. I'd love to hear what everybody else is, but there's this propensity today that everybody's looking for the easy button.
Well, I will say not everybody. I definitely never go for the easy button. I don't know why. It's almost like I'm trying to torture myself, but it's more that, again, what's the point, Tracy? Like, why would people be doing that? And you can kind of see that even before machines wrote their content for them. It didn't really matter that they wrote it. You still had that flavor of, I'm just writing this because I create content and I'm going to sell something. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get the feeling for why you're there. What are you doing? And when I say make it harder, it's because I really wanted the more meaningful, substantial connections. So I knew it had to be something I was saying that felt real to me, true to me. Yes, I have a business. Yes, I ultimately am on LinkedIn for that business. But I was never going to, and I do use ChatGPT to say, like, did I make some crazy mistake here? Or does this even make sense? Or we have chats all the time. You know, I wrote a post about how validating it always is with me, telling me, like, you made a great point. And I'm like, all right, yeah. I haven't given it a name, but I'm like, that's great. But I guess just going back, it's the ultimate way that it comes out, regardless of how you crafted it. If you did it more easily, there's I don't know, you kind of know, oh, you're here just because you're trying to get all the likes, or you're here doing the templated thing, or you're here. You can quickly, brains pick up these patterns. And I think that's ultimately kind of, those people were going to do something that felt that way, even without that tool, generally.
Yeah.
It's a good point from a targeting perspective, because I use the phrase minimum viable a lot because I'm from software and we talk about minimum viable software, but I have never identified as a minimum viable person, right? Like, I don't do minimum viable. I'm terrible at that. I told my boss once, I need to be an 8 out of 10. Like, that's the minimum quality I do, right? 80% honors. That's all I do. I don't do 6 out of 10s. I don't do 3 out of 10s. I would never submit a 3 out of 10. It's not my thing. And so it's interesting because I don't think that necessarily means everyone should be an 8 out of 10, right? It means that there are people who are cool with being a 3 out of 10. But for me, those aren't my people, right? Those aren't my friends. They're not my clients. They're not my people. I don't belong with them.
Dave, what's your thoughts? You've been way too quiet for a while, so I need your brilliance.
I like to listen to people. I'm a listener. However, I'm here to talk. So I think AI is just it's a tool. It's meant for coming up with ideas primarily. But I think when people don't use it properly, it's pretty clear that they're using the internet's thoughts to produce their own thoughts. But that's them. If they're not smart enough to recognize that, I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm gonna make my business stand out better than them. Like, you should. The ChatGPT, if I'm going to use ChatGPT, like, I will use it. I use it for a variety of things. Like, I'm come up with 5 different ideas for this. I look at the ideas.
Bingo.
Right?
Yeah.
It pulls ideas that I maybe have never thought of, but I'm not going to put it verbiage word for word in there. But it does give me some thoughts and some ideas, and maybe some approaches that I never really thought of. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then it comes to taking that information and putting it into something that's digestible for your clients and appropriate for your clients. That's all. I like to run ChatGPT about 4 times. If you're smart, you'd run it through 4 times.
See what it says. I'm a fan of Perplexity AI, which is like a top layer. And like I love to ask it things just to see what it would say. Right?
Yeah.
This is what I would say. What would you say about that? And it's interesting. You can learn, like you said, Dave. It's an opportunity to get prompted. But are we using it as an opportunity to prompt our own thoughts that we can own, that can lead us to that self-confidence that we so desire? Or do we say, well, the internet knows better than me, so I'll just copy what the internet says and I will sound smarter because of what the internet said? Now that I say that, it's really interesting because I feel like maybe there's like a level of personal expertise that people have or don't have that dictates how they use these tools, right? So for me, I believe in my experience. I know that the things that I know work. I've seen them work. I have proof. And so I can look at something the internet says and look at something I know and say, like, these match or these don't match. I don't have to like judge myself. I don't think the internet knows more than me. It might know different.
It does. It knows more than you. It knows way more than you.
Well, as the like entire brain capacity.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. Please do not confuse knowledge with wisdom.
True.
Wisdom comes from experience. Knowledge is you find in the library. It's just a series of books that'll tell you the facts and figures. That's what the internet does. It also tells you 50 million tons of total bullshit that people have made up on their own without any facts whatsoever. So do not count on the internet to give you information or knowledge.
Where do we all do our research? Where do we all do our research? Where do we
I go to the library.
I don't think you do. I think you go to the internet. And you're smart enough to know. You're smart enough to know how to delineate, how to break down what's not true and what's true for you. And I think that the internet does provide us with what are all of our knowledge. Well, not all of our knowledge base, but what you do with it, Peter, is you make it yours. You make that information that you get from the internet specific to you, and you make it magical. And all of us make it magical, the stuff that we take from the internet. But the internet, the internet is where we get our information from.
True or false?
Well, I was going to say, I would bet Peter does actually go to the library.
I don't. I actually do go to the library. But what I was going to say, and I'm sure this will piss a lot of people off, and I'll exclude the people who are surrounding me on this screen, that most people under the age of 40 use AI because they don't have the other AI, actual intelligence. I think they've gone through a terrible education system that taught them absolutely nothing. And the only thing it taught them how to do was how to Google, and not how to learn, and not how to absorb, and not how to interpret, and not how to, and this is the biggest problem of all, to create. When I see posts on LinkedIn especially that are obviously written by some program somewhere that scooped off the internet, I actually usually comment to the person, you're not a writer, you're a programmer. Don't call yourself a writer. Writers never use this. They use this. Writing comes from the brain, not from the hands. This is typing. We all type. Writing comes from the brain. It does not come from the information that the computer has sought on the internet and then regurgitated for itself for other computers. And I always refer to AI as crack cocaine for bad writers. It's addictive.
I mean, we did tell you all he's the curmudgeon. So
he is a curmudgeon.
We warned you.
It's addictive and it's harmful. And using it correctly as a tool is fine. But that group under the age of 40 who don't have proper educational background don't know how to be creative. They don't know how to
Well,
investigate.
I gotta say, Peter, I'm 51 and I didn't have a proper educational background. That's all. Like nobody ever taught me the thing or I wasn't in an environment. We all know that things are lacking many days. Like I'm never going to make the argument that I had such fabulous education. My daughter, who is 18, she's a fairly good critical thinker, and she doesn't use ChatGPT very often. I was actually helping her with her biology, which was ridiculous because I have no idea first year biology university, but she was having a problem with the question. I'm like, did you ask ChatGPT? And she was like, well, no, I didn't think of it. I don't know that she's a sample of one. I get that. But I think it comes down to, well, again, getting specific, like what matters to people. I still think no matter how old or young you are, you might be willing to not go there or to go there. And I don't know. I don't think it's the evil thing. I don't know that you were saying it was evil, but anyways, just a point to make that I'm going to say it's all right.
That Lynn is a great mom and taught her kids to critical think.
I know that feels like that was the point.
So here's the thing. It says, guys, it's the bias of the marketer. Peter, you just
hang on one second, Peter. Lynn, your kids did get a good education. They got it from you.
Oh, flattery will get you everywhere.
There we go. But here we are. We're back to the bias of the marketer.
Yeah.
Peter's assumption is everybody under the age of 40 is stupid. And that's an
everyone to that because
hang on a second. What we're doing, just a second, Tracy. What we're doing as marketers is we're assuming the worst of the people that we're talking, and we're dumbing everything down, and we're mansplaining and whatever we're doing to people, basically looking for the lowest common denominator, and just sit there going, okay, if instead of sitting there going, our audience is smart. Our audience is educated. Our audience knows how to Google. Our audience knows how to use ChatGPT. Our audience, by the time they come to us, they're 70 to 80% way through the decision before they ever pick up a phone and give us a call. Mm-hmm. If they ever pick up a phone and give us a call at all. We need, as marketers, to not assume that anybody is anything. We as marketers need to sit there and actually go out and have conversations and sit there and say, what do you think? What do you believe? What are your challenges? What are your aspirations? How would you, here's a new toy. How would you use this?
I love that.
Assuming that somebody is going to actually use the toaster the way that you think the toaster should be used, they may turn it upside down and put it in water and plug it in because it doesn't make any sense to them.
On that note,
go ahead.
For market research, which is the boring way of saying what you just said, which is talk to people. I've been very interested in particularly market research for small business. And I don't know how many of us are more in the bigger space, but that's something I've been looking at 2023. I've seen a few startups trying to serve that market of you don't have the $100,000 that you would need to go and work with, one of the big research companies. So what does that look like for you? Because people will say, just go out there and talk to your customers. It's like, yeah, that's magically just going to happen, right? Like it's not an easy thing to do. So yes, you can connect on LinkedIn, but this is also, and I'm going to bring it back to, if you made the specific choices, then you can say specifically, here's who I would like to talk to, and ask people about that. But as a whole, I'd be curious to know what all of you think about small business market research. I think that's also heavily like something we don't do enough. We say, go and listen, talk to your clients. But I think for most people, it's like, I'm kind of lost here as to how to do this properly and in a good way.
I will tell clients, especially the president of the company, the CMO, the C-level person, to spend 1 hour per week for the next 2 months, either in their customer service center, in their email center, getting emails in, getting phone calls in, however the customers are talking to them. Spend an hour in there and just listen. Don't say anything, just listen.
Right, but for small businesses, they don't have that ability. I guess what I'm getting at is when you don't have the store, the thing that you can go to.
But they do. If they have a website, they have people who are making comments. They're rating their products. They're going online. They're going on Yelp. They're going on wherever, Amazon, and giving it ratings. And you have to go and read those. You have to go and do the work
Exactly.
to listen to what they're saying, because that's where you're going to get the real honest information.
Right. But there's not enough volume. Like, I'm still trying to get at, that's not happening. Like, we're talking really small businesses.
Hang on a second, Lynn, but they're not having a lot of clients anyway.
Right, but they're growing. I mean, I don't know about how many.
Yeah, but the thing is small companies, small problems, big companies, big problems. You keep going out there and getting larger samples as you get bigger. When you're small and you've got 20 clients, if you don't know your 20 clients intimately, if you don't know who their staff are, if you don't know, who their clients are, if you don't know, shame on you. Shame on you if you got 20 clients and you don't know what your clients do, how they work, who their clients are, who the people are in their office, what their challenges are, what they're hoping to do next year and the year after you. Shame on you.
I think we need to provide some context here, but
yeah,
go ahead.
You're talking about clients, and I'm talking about restaurant customers. I'm talking about laundromat customers and bike shop customers. Right. I'm talking about these are businesses. These are small and medium-sized businesses that we're marketing for. They don't have a marketing company. They don't have a home office. So we're there as marketers working with these guys to try and get their brand out. So who is the bike shop client? Who is the laundromat client?
I worked in a bike shop. I talk to my clients all the time. The people that were in the store.
So that's how you know who your clients are. That's
exactly. So you're talking to these people. You're talking to the people that are actually coming in to buy a bike. Why are they buying a bike? They're buying it for their kids. Oh, wait a second here. The last 30 people that walked in my door were buying bikes for kids and buying a first bike for their kids. I don't have enough inventory for that coming up. Maybe I better go call my distributor and order some more bikes. Oh, wait a second here. I just had a dinner run. I had a dinner run, and wait a second here. The filet mignon we ordered 50 of them. We only sold 20 of them, and we sold 150 cheeseburgers. Wait a second here. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're trying to be more than what we are. Maybe we're the people that come into our restaurant right now are cheeseburger people.
No, you projected your business wrong. You shouldn't have pulled 50. You should have pulled 30. You should have known your business better to pull 30 and not 50.
But you don't know that when you don't have any data whatsoever. So
and we collect data as we
You're
go,
collecting data as you go.
But I think, Lynn, something like I have many opinions on market research, and there's a lot of it that's done wrong, even when it's done. So it's not helpful. And again, creates that data that's not helpful instead of data that is helpful. But I kind of want to bring this back to a place where we started, which is you making a choice. And I think people disempower themselves a lot with market research because they go out with market research from the perspective of like, I'm here to learn what the market needs. But you kind of know what the market needs, right? The gaps that you see,
you assume you know what the market needs.
Well, okay, so we can talk about
you
this again as
assume
we
you
grow,
know
but
what
if
the
you
market
are
needs.
brand
You don't know
new-
what the market needs until you talk to the market.
Yes, but I can make an educated hypothesis as a marketer that based on what I've seen, I'm a consumer, I have done this, I have spent, most people when they're starting their own business have spent 10, 15, 20 years in an industry. They've seen gaps, they've seen problems, they've seen issues. They've probably been employed by a company that fixes them. And now they're out on their own doing things. They have data.
Sorry, Tracy, and what percentage of businesses fail under 5 years?
Okay, so this is fine. But then what we're saying is like, if I don't have 1,000 clients, then I don't have enough data. I don't think that that's true.
No,
Because
but what you need to be is you need to be able to
client.
evaluate and adapt and be resilient.
And it also depends on the industry, right? If I'm a bike shop and I need to sell X amount of bikes to maintain my location, then there's a different requirement of me and data. Or if I'm a restaurant and I need to know like, oh, nobody is buying steak, I shouldn't keep stocking steak. That doesn't make sense for me. But if I'm a service provider and I'm out there talking to people, but at the same time, a lot of people don't know they're not comfortable talking to people. We haven't been taught how to talk to people. We think about the transaction before we're worried about the problem and even the relationship that we talked about. And so I think, yes, while all of this is important, we also have to remember, like, let's come back to the basics here. Is that, do I think I'm solving a problem? Because if I don't think I'm solving a problem, I could go out to market and talk to as many people as I want, and they can tell me yay or nay. But I don't act. What's the foundation for that?
But
Why
if you
would I
don't
keep
think that
going?
you're solving a problem, you're not going to start a business to begin with. You're not even going to entertain
That's what
the
I mean.
conversation.
So that, like, that
Tra-
just
Tracy?
from a like personal confidence perspective, if I could go out to market and do quote unquote market research with 8 of my ideal clients, and I only need to serve 3 clients in a year based on what I've created, right? That might be enough data for you. Now I have data analysis friends that will tell you no sample is complete unless you have 1,000 people. I haven't served close to 1,000 people. I have lots of data about what I need to do to serve my market. My market doesn't need 1,000 people. So that's all I'm saying, is that there's still this innate knowledge that you likely have that you can tap into that helps you pick the direction that you need to go for that additional research.
Tracy,
Okay,
Tracy,
go ahead, Peter.
I remember talking to Gary Halbert one time, and if you've never read the Boron Letters, shame on you. But Gary Halbert and I were talking, and I said, if I had a list of everybody who bought a Lamborghini in the last 6 months, I could make thousands of dollars selling a very simple report for $9.95, how to avoid speeding tickets. He said, you're right. What we have to do as marketers, our number one goal is always to ask 2 questions. What else? What next? If I know, and this was the great lesson of direct mail, you had a list which told you that here are 100,000 people who just purchased a widget. My job is to create the widget cleaner that 100,000 people are going to want to buy, because that's the next thing they're going to want to buy, or the other thing that they're going to want to buy, the updated widget. So we don't do enough of that. What else? What next? I see too many of the marketers saying, no, my pen is the greatest pen and you should just go on and buy it. Well, yes, if you all just bought a ream of paper, then a pen is a good thing. So ask the question, what else? What next?
Good question. I also want to go, because Hal has asked a question here. How does one generation market to another in a world full of stereotypes and cliches?
You stop talking about generations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Well said. Beautifully said.
Okay.
And I think I can't remember who made this point earlier. I think it was you, Lynn, that like there are people that, I use this example all the time. I've had clients who are 25-year-old female entrepreneurs. I've had clients who are 60-year-old males working in corporate, right? Like that, if you look at this from a generational or a gender perspective, it's not actually accurate. But there is something about those people that are attracted to me. And it's language, it's energy, it's how I help. Right?
I'll make the exception. I'll make the exception that if you found by listening to your market that they really like to label themselves as Gen X or whatever the heck it is, and it matters, then you'll do that work. But as a whole, there are many more similarities than differences. When you're born, how all of that really, that's a marketing thing that was created, this idea of generational differences, and even the tweens and the teens and all of that, that's created bullshit. So, don't market to the bullshit, market to the people and look at the job to be done. And then we're just all much more similar than we are different. Still unique, but that's my...
As the oldest person in the room, I can assure you that if you're all lucky, you'll get to be my age one day and you'll discover that you disappear.
Right, but that's a whole other story. That's ageism. That's whole big mess.
Yeah. Well, I think that does leak into the marketing.
Yeah,
the fact
you're right.
That that the wisdom or the experience that we've gained over the years is suddenly invalidated because your birth certificate says, oh, that starts with a 5. It's a 50. It's not a
100%.
90 or a whatever.
Mhm.
So I always say I'm reminded of a line in a TV show in an All in the Family episode years ago where the guy said, "Don't forget, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get old."
Well, and I think this is an interesting point too in the marketing conversation, because there's a lot of digital AI tech that's available now, and there is a incorrect assumption that young people understand that and other people don't understand that. And
Go
now
ahead,
if
say
I'm
it.
thinking about
Say
like,
older people. Say older people,
what did
not
I say?
other people. Older people.
Older people.
Thank you.
Well, and there's a whole, I mean, there's
Well,
a
I
whole
don't want to.
scope here.
Sorry, I don't want to be called other people. I'm not
You're
other people. I'm an older person because I'm older than you. So please,
older people.
thank you.
And this is not like I've seen this because I work with a lot of marketers, and a lot of marketers who have been in marketing for a long time who are trying to like rebrand themselves because they're like, everybody assumes I know nothing about marketing because I've been in marketing for 35 years. And now, like, I'm not on TikTok. So all of a sudden, I don't know anything about marketing. And again, for me, comes back to one of the foundational reasons that the show exists, is that the concept of marketing, these like human principles of connection and belonging and value exchanges and these types of things, are not only available to a specific age group of people. They are available to people who are alive. They're available for my son who is 5, and they are available to my great grandma or my grandmother who is 93. They are still available. Those people are still responding to marketing. And I feel like a lot of times we get caught up in these things, and because the internet tells us we should focus on this, and people get, I always laugh at that. I can't remember what piece of technology it was, but like someone was hiring for a person and asking for 5 years of experience in this tech stack. And the guy who invented it was like, this has only been a thing for 2 years. Like, nobody, I created it.
No
And
one's
I don't
got
have
5
5
years of
years of
experience
experience in it. And so that's more of a like hiring problem. But I think, again, from a marketing perception angle, that is something that we don't necessarily appreciate is happening. But I think if we asked ourselves the question, we might see that is something that's true.
Well, I mean, here's a long conversation and hopefully a very short answer. The difference between strategy and brand and tactics. And everybody's focused on tactics. Everybody's focused on the latest, greatest. What's the tactics of today? Well, guess what? What worked in 2019 doesn't work today. What works in 2023 probably won't work in 2025. But the brand and the strategy are still sound. And we need to sit there and focus on what's the story we want to tell, who do we want to tell it to, how do we want those people to feel, and then you figure out the tactics that work for the day.
Yeah.
And so everybody is so focused on tactics. Everybody is so focused on do I need to be dancing on TikTok? No, you don't. And the question is, even if you are dancing on TikTok, are those your people that are going to actually whip out their checkbook? Sorry, I still use checkbooks, and actually pay for the the service or the thing that you're selling. So we need to focus on that. What's really important, because the tactics are just going to change. That's just the whim of the day. It's ice cream. Are we doing vanilla? Are we doing chocolate? Are we doing maple fudge? What's going to work for your people?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, we are a little bit over time on the show, which Peter totally predicted in advance, in case anyone was wondering. But I think we could spend a lot more time talking about strategy and branding and what does that mean and what does it not mean. And we will talk about all of those things in the new year on additional episodes of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. But I do think from a like 2023 wrap up, we identified a lot of things, a lot of challenges perhaps people are having, or experiences that they're having that have been helpful or hinderful. I don't think that's a word, but we'll go with it for today. But when we think about brand, when we think about strategy, when we come back to like the things that I wrote down are like human experiences, right? What is the human experience we are trying to create here? Whether you're selling a hamburger or you're selling a Mercedes or expensive consulting services or direct mail or whatever you're selling, what is the value of that to your people? And how would you serve it to them? And I think if we can ask ourselves more questions around those things in the new year, then that will be very powerful for everybody. Actually, fun fact, Hal, I still have a checkbook. I do still, and I have to use it for specific things. When it comes to like my grandparents' stuff, they still only accept checks for some things. Anyway, also, I live in a town where the movie theater only accepts cash. So it probably depends on where you are in the world. Does anybody have any final thoughts, statements? We're not going to open any more can of worms because we're already over, but anything just in like a final wrap up that you believe will empower the listeners going into 2024? I know everybody has something, so pick something and I'll go around the room. Peter, you're laughing, so you go first.
No,
I'll give you a quick one.
Okay, Paul.
All right. So no matter what happens, our minds are focused on our belonging, whether it's our families, whether it's our work, or whether we want to hang out with our friends. And so whatever message we're putting out about for the product or the service, or even of ourselves, if we're keying that into where somebody gets to see their life in their belief, and then you want to give them a story where they can go, my life can be better, they move into a misbelief. And in that misbelief, if they know you're the one to walk them into the space of a new belief, you're probably going to succeed at your marketing at that point, because now they get to see themselves first and along with you in that space. Now, whether it's a product or not, and I'm going to go back really quick to the lip. You mentioned lipstick. I have seen so many times with lip gloss here in the Seattle area. Oh, you have to try this lip gloss. And they will be so encouraging and inviting. Please use this. This is my favorite lip gloss, because that lip gloss, it's not that it belongs to them. It's in their mind. They belong to that company that made that lip gloss too. And so that's where I'll say there's always this interweaving of us in our social space. And if we can somehow tap into that, we tend to create a place where people want to belong with the product.
Love it. Okay, who's next? Ben.
Forget about the product and service you sell. It doesn't matter. What you're selling is how do you help other people succeed and fix the problems that they have. If you can be the person that can make somebody feel that you're there for them, that you're going to fix the problem that they have, whether it's the fact that they're hungry or the fact that they're changing over an ER, you're going to have the emotional tie and the trust of that person to be able to fix it, either with the problem, with the solution you have, or a custom solution you guys will come up with together. It's all about the customer.
Love it. I'm going to add on to that one and say, don't assume you know my problem. Invest in understanding that I actually have that problem. Then we probably have somewhere to go with that. Dave, what about you?
I would say just be authentic, be kind, and in terms of your client or your market, appeal to their emotions. Appeal to their emotions. If you're going to appeal to, if you get their emotions, whatever their emotion is, whether it's financial or it's aromatic, whatever that is, appeal to their emotions, and you'll be more impactful than appealing to what your product is.
Oh, love it. And I would say do that in an authentic way and not a scammy, manipulative way.
Sure.
That's just the Tracy flavor I will add to that one.
Yeah.
Lynn.
I think I would say, yes, it's all about the thing that you're helping people solve, figure out, progress in. But I would say, ask yourself, do you really care about that thing? Because I do see a lot of startups, people creating things for the sake of it. And I get it. You want to make money, but there's a weird amount of people who really actually don't care so much about the thing that they're helping people solve. So put yourself back in there in that way as well.
I like that.
I love that. All right, Peter.
Relax.
Nice.
Take a deep breath. Smile more. Love better. Go for a walk once in a while. And you know, it ain't such a big fucking deal after all, because it's the only one you get. There's no redos. There's no second act in this. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, okay. I see why you wanted to go last. That was a good one. It's funny because I used to have a boss when I was working in marketing who always said, "We're not saving babies. This is not what we're doing in marketing, right? This, at the end of the day, if you took a day off, your business isn't going to go out of business. Likely, no, it's not. Nobody's would. So when we're thinking about marketing, like, have fun with it, explore, get creative, like give yourself the space to have fun and to relax. What could it look like?
If you can't treat yourself better, you can't treat your clients or your customers better.
Great point. Great point. And whether you are a solopreneur who is doing marketing or you're working in a marketing organization and you're doing marketing, advice still holds true. Love it. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. This episode was awesome. Thank you so much for great comments from the crowd. We have Jamie, Hal, Shannon, Samina, and Katrina that were joining us live in the comments. Thank you all for joining and sharing the experience with us today. And as always, my lovely friends, Ben, Paul, Dave, Lynn, and Peter, you guys brought it today. I also want to just specifically call out, because what you experienced here today was that we didn't all agree on all the things. And that's because we have different experience and we believe in what we know, but we also believe in listening to other people and exploring new ideas. And this is one of the things I'm always really excited to demonstrate for the marketing industry, is it's not that there's just one right way or that person knows all of the things. There's power in people being in conversation and exploring these types of things. And so find your peeps, man. Maybe some of them are here. And if you're not connected with all these wonderful people, you should be connected with all of these people. And I say should very rarely, but I actually believe it in this case. It will only benefit you going forward. And connect with each other. So all of you who are in the comments here today are exploring marketing from a different type of way, or looking to grow what you know and challenge the status quo. So connect with the people. These are people who can help keep you in that zone and allow you to stay creative and find the things that actually work for you. So stay connected in community, folks. Crazy Stupid Marketing. This is our last episode for the year, but in the new year, starting on the 9th, we will be back with weekly episodes. We will have an unusual time for our episode on the 9th because we have a guest coming from Australia. So we're pushing it back a little bit later in the day so he doesn't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be on live. So he'll be at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. Extrapolate that, my friends, and stay connected until next year. Have a very happy holidays, a very authentic holidays, and a wonderful, wonderful start to 2024.
Thanks for doing this, Tracy.
Thanks.